Hey guys! Learning another language as an English speaker is pretty rough because English is actually the easiest language in the world to learn, so any language is going to be harder than that. So it's no surprise that learning French was pretty difficult for me. I actually did a video on the 5 most challenging things for me about learning French that you can find in the description or right here in the link below. But today I'm actually going to focus on those pesky things that we call fake friends or faux amis. So what are fake friends and faux amis? It's those words in French and English that look the same but do not have the same meaning at all. And the ones that I'm going to focus on today are particularly embarrassing if you don't use them in the right context. Before I get started, I would love if you have any embarrassing stories when you used words wrong and it was a fake friend to leave in the comments below, or if you think that I'm missing one in the 9 I'm going to talk about that I should have added, don't forget or hesitate to let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, c'est parti! I've actually never made this mistake before, and it's a very common one, so knock on wood. I'm gonna knock on the table right here. Préservatif in French actually means condom, and preservatives in English is some kind of substance that we would add to food or maybe wood that it would stop it from decaying. So for example, if you were to ask somebody for food without preservatives in French and you would say, I want food without préservatif, you're actually saying I want food that doesn't have condoms in it, so it could be very awkward. But preservatives is also quite close to the word preserve, which means like jelly in English. And so I do remember the one time I really saw this mistake in action was when a guy got up in my French class and he said, I'm making a sandwich, and he had forgotten the name for jelly in French, which is confiture. And so the first thing that came to mind was preserve, and then he said préservatif, and he was asking for like a condom sandwich, and the teacher was dying. It was hilarious. So it's actually a pretty easy one to make the mistake and really common, but we just stay away from any food with preservatif. Another common one that has a pretty sexual connotation is excited versus excité. So in the US, we use lots of words and we try to convey all of our emotions, like this is so awesome, we're so excited, I love you so much, and there's like just a lot going on. And so I tend to use the word excited in English very often to convey how I'm feeling about something. And excited in French, when you say I am excited, je suis excité, it has way more of a sexual connotation, like I am sexually excited. So if you were to say to your boss at work that you were like excited about a new project, it could really take on a weird connotation. A lot of like the French people that I know, when I say this, will say there are circumstances and there is a context when it is appropriate to say je suis excité and it doesn't have a sexual connotation, but nobody can really explain to me like for sure when those contexts are. So I just tend to stay completely away from je suis excité, and I prefer to say j'ai hâte. So it's another way to say I'm really looking forward to, or I'm really excited, because I feel like that's a very neutral way to convey my excitement. I love this one because douche is something that we often say in English as an insult, and I am a huge fan, and I will admit it, of saying, ugh, he or she was a colossal douchebag, when what I'm really trying to say is they were really obnoxious. And what's funny is the actual word douche in English means a stream of water that's cleaning out like a body cavity. So it's already kind of gross. But in France, the word douche just means a shower, like just a plain old shower. So in my experience, if you try saying to your husband like, ugh, you're such a douche, when he annoys you, in French, it really doesn't say anything because you're not really giving any sort of insult. So if you really want to use douche, stay with it in English, and in French, just remember it's just a plain old shower. I think this one is probably a less common one because when you learn French, one of the first things that you start learning besides like how to say hello and goodbye are body parts. And so you learn very quickly that your arm is bras. And bra in English is also an undergarment that a woman wears on her breasts, and the word for that in French is actually soutien-gorge, so it's like nothing similar at all to what we say in English. So I don't think too many people make that mistake, but the problem is when you're in a situation where you've forgotten the word bra and you're trying to come up with it in French, you often think of the word in English and spin it with a French accent. And in this case, it really doesn't work. I know from experience that if you say in a sentence, I'm looking for this size, and then you say bra, they're not going to know what you're saying. So if you're feeling under the weather, maybe had a crazy night out, and you need to go to the pharmacy to pick up some medicine, I would say not to use the word pill in French. If you start to say pile, for example, the French are going to think that you're trying to ask for batteries, and I'm not even sure that French pharmacies sell batteries like they would at Walgreens. The hardest part for me about this word too is that pile and pilule are two different words, and one meaning battery and one meaning birth control. And so sometimes when I go to the pharmacy, I can't remember, is it pile or is it pilule? So there's a little bit of mess going on there. So what I would say, I would just recommend go with name brand. I would like a Doliprane, please, and you won't have any problems. If you have a little slip in English, that actually means that you've almost fallen, and the word for that is glisser in French. So if you accidentally can't remember that and you try to say the word slip, what you're really saying in French is men's underwear. Now I know if you're trying to talk about falling and you just randomly throw in men's underwear that people are going to know that you didn't actually mean that, but it's still a little bit of an embarrassing slip up to have. Did you catch that joke? I did an auto joke, slip up. I don't even know why we call a women's menstrual cycle a period, but we do call it a period in English, and in French it does not at all refer to a woman's cycle. So in French the word is règle in order to refer to a period, and règle can actually be like a rule, and it can also be a ruler that you would use to like draw a straight line in school. So I don't know where each of these languages are getting the actual word for menstruation or why it was that way, but what I do know is that if you go to a French doctor and you forget the word règle and you try to say in period, she is not or he is not going to understand what you are speaking about. So this is another one you've got to watch out for. Chat versus chat. So they're spelled exactly the same way, but they do not have the same meaning at all. So a chat in English is like a quick discussion. I had a chat with my girlfriend over here. And a chat is the male form of a cat, so a boy cat. And already that's a little bit different, but what makes it a little bit worse is when you're talking about a female cat, you add a te at the end and you say chat. And chat, depending on the connotation, can be a little bit sexual. Just like we say in English, you can have a pussy cat or it could be a pussy. Those two things are not the same. Well, in French, it can either mean a female cat or it could mean female genitals. So I tend, just like je suis excitée, to never say the female form of a cat. Though, again, I am told by my French friends that you can say that word as long as it's in the right context, but I prefer just to call all cats male cats. Alright guys, that's all for today. So as I said before, I would love if you left in the comments any stories you have about faux amis or embarrassing things that have happened to you in speaking French. And of course, if you think there's a fake friend that didn't make it in my list, I would love to hear which one, so don't hesitate to leave that in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you all next week. Bisous!